Hello ladies and gentlemen, this is King Ruthless and I'm bringing you another StarCraft 2 commentary. This is going to be Zerg vs Protoss on the map Antiga Shipyard. Let's go ahead and introduce our two players for the game. And the spawning in the right hand position is Decaf, the blue Zerg. This is the guy who is teaching us how to play Zerg vs Protoss. He has a nice little thread on TeamLiquid.net that everyone who is having problems with Zerg vs Protoss needs to check out. A lot of nice replays in here, and that's why I'm casting a lot of these games. And let's go ahead and introduce his opponent. His name is ChakrA. He will be spawning as the red Protoss, and I guess the 11 o'clock location on Antiga Shipyard. I haven't seen too many ZVPs on this map, especially in these spawning locations, so I'm not really sure how this game is going to go, but I'm sure it'll be a learning experience for both of us here. For those of you who haven't been paying attention to the, haven't even seen the last two games that I've casted of Decaf's series on how to play ZVP, it's pretty much based around Roach, Ling, Muta, focusing on a little bit of early upgrades, especially attack upgrades for those Lings and Roaches, protecting yourself against any sort of 1 or 2 base all-in, and then teching to Mutas and then just non-stop harass while maintaining those upgrades, getting up to 4 bases, and then just beating the crap out of your opponent. See, from here at Decaf, again, if you've been watching these games, this is a 12 pull yet again. I think this is actually not a bad pull timing because Protosses can't do anything about maybe like trying to do that 3 pylon block with cannons. It just won't work. You'll have your Lings out in time. You can even do the drone drill, and then you have your Lings out, and you can just kill Protoss even faster. And as well, if Protoss tries to deny your expansion with a pylon, you will be able to get rid of that with Lings a lot faster. Now, we see here that ChakrA is going to go ahead and throw down a 15 Nexus, or was that a 16? No, 15, because he's not Zerg. Sorry, so he's going to throw down a 15 Nexus, followed, I would assume, by a Forge. Forge would be the smartest in this position. Yes, so Forge does go down. And meanwhile, Decaf's Overlord is just going to go into ChakrA's base. He will not see any sort of tech, or what am I saying? Not tech. We're not seeing any gateways or anything, so Decaf is going to put his Overlord right at this ramp. Basically check for the expansion timing. Basically see if there's anything he can do with this 12 pull. Sometimes Protosses will go for a 15 Nexus, and they won't be smart enough to make a cannon fast enough, so you can actually do some damage to them. Meanwhile, ChakrA here, it looks like that's a kind of strange wall up, but I think that's a perfect wall up. There might be a little bit of space in here for Zerglings, I'm not quite sure. But I mean, this is actually a pretty sweet wall off. Meanwhile, expansion has gone down for Decaf, and 4 Lings are on the way to do a little bit of damage. I don't know if he's going to be able to do very much other than some shield damage here. The Zerglings might be able to circumvent these probes if they can. That would be so irritating. Yes, the 4 Lings do get into the base. Okay, only 3 of them survive, but now these 3 Lings can just go in and harass, and they can just look how much mining time that Protoss is going to lose as a result of this. And these Zerglings can go ahead and start picking away at this Nexus. And really, ChakrA is doing the right thing here. He's not trying to... Uh-oh, he's actually going to lose a probe. Now remember, with this many Zerglings in the base, even if you have 3 slow Lings, there is no reason why you can't take out a couple of probes here. Or at least... Oh, another goes down, and another goes down. So these 3 Lings just being so annoying. This Zealot cannot come any sooner. The Zealot is finally out. Now these Lings can still just outrange it. They can just run around all day. They can still pick away at these probes. They still might get a few licks off on these probes. But meanwhile, what we see behind this is now that Decaf is up in the base, he is free to macro up. He is just droning up like a madman. Meanwhile, these Zerglings are just in the base, seeing exactly what ChakrA is doing. He doesn't even need an Overlord to try and scout here. He's just picking away at the health of these probes, causing some mining time to be lost. Another probe does go down, so let's look at the Workers Lost tab. 4 workers have gone down. This Ling harass has been more successful than it usually is. If you get at least 3 drones or 3 probes with this sort of Ling aggression, you've done your job. You've done more than your job. You're also oh, another goes down, so that's 5 probes now lost. And I think the Zealot will finally pick off the rest of the Zerglings. That's just got to be so annoying for Protosses to deal with. So nice harass there. And meanwhile, Decaf has gone ahead and taken a 3rd. Very nicely done, but meanwhile, macroing up, let's look at the income tab. It is 39 to 30, but remember, once this 3rd base kicks in, Decaf is going to be able to explode with just so many drones here. So much larva will be able to be produced. And notice that Decaf has not even started on Ling speed. There's no Roach War, no nothing. Just tons and tons and tons of drones being pumped. Now we finally have the Ling speed going down. Roach Warren Evolution Chamber going down about a little bit later than last time, about the 48 probe mark. Now this probe will get in here and we'll be able to scout what Zerg is doing to try and see if he's going for some sort of all-in. But in this position, decaf can just safely macro up. He's delayed Protoss's build this so long. So I feel like decaf is very far ahead. We can see in the supply count is 56 to 44. Now keep in mind, decaf is a master Zerg. This is not just some pushover game. This is not, you know, platinum or gold or diamond. No, none of that noobish nonsense. This is Master League. And look here, ChakrA is going for 4 gateways for a total of 5 gates. Now we're going to see here what ChakrA decides to do. 6 gates. So 6 gates, and if he goes for a robo after this, no, he will cancel that and instead go for a pylon. So it looks like ChakrA wants to come back, wants to make this a macro game, but Zerg meanwhile is on 3 bases. Look at the income harvesters tab again, 54 to 39. This is what happens when you leave Zerg alone for too long and allow him just to drone up. When Zergs are allowed to freely drone up, Zerg can easily get up to 60 drones, and I think that's pretty much what ChakrA does in this position. He just gets up to about 60 drones or so, 60-ish, not quite 70, and then just does nothing but make units. And he just has, you know, great upgrades and just tons of units out there to prevent any sort of timing attacks from occurring. Now, +1 will be finishing for ChakrA. So we do see 2 sentries. Looks like a handful of zealots here. So I think this isn't so much to push out as it is to try and take a third. So ChakrA doing the smart thing here is going to go ahead and take this third as fast as he can and force decaf to either take a fourth or deny this third. So we do have a handful of roaches coming out here. Decaf is momentary supply locked. But as well, I mean, Protoss does have these sentries here. And there's no force fields really needed at this point in time, not until the roaches join up. And now, if ChakrA can go ahead and split these units, these forces in half, and not lose too many of these zealots, he can be in pretty good shape. But now, oh no, that is terrible. That Nexus is being forced to cancel, and the never-ending wave of units is now coming. This is the problem that Protoss can have with this build. If they just don't do early enough aggression, if they don't punish Zerg for droning up so much, they can be in trouble. He might be able to force field off these roaches. He does. Nice force fields. He is able to kill off 4 of these roaches. Nicely done by ChakrA. This other roach by decaf just hanging out here. Not really seeing much of anything that else that is going on. I'm not surprised he's going to let this live. And we have more roaches and Zerglings coming out. Now what ChakrA can do right here is he can try and take out the 3rd base, or at least force some mining to be lost. It would be risky as there are 10 more roaches on the way. Layer is already down, and it looks like Lero Constitution has already completed. That +1 roach attack has started, and here we go with the big engagement. Nice force fields here from ChakrA. That was a bit superfluous, but he's doing a great job here, keeping the roach count relatively low. Although 18 more roaches are going to get spawned in. So here's another thing I want to point out about decaf. He's just on top of his macro. Look how low the energy is on his queens. Just not very much at all. And now that the spire is finished, decaf can go ahead and make wave after wave of Mutilus if he so chooses. Now the 3rd base is going down for Protoss. Imagine if he had kept that alive and that mine from earlier. This could have been a very different game. But instead we have the game that that we see here. So +1 is about to finish for these Zerglings. Pretty decent force fields there from Protoss. He will take out all those Zerglings at the very least. And meanwhile, we have a Twilight Council and a robotics facility on the way. +1 has finished as well. So we have 1-1 finish for Protoss. Meanwhile, Zerg is going to pressure with all these roaches and force Protoss to engage at 2 places at once. This is not what Protosses like to do. They do not like to have to engage in 2 spots at once. So now what decaf is doing is he's keeping ChakrA pinned in his base. He's keeping ChakrA always on his toes, always wondering when the next counterattack will come. But now we have Mutas out on the map. So ladies and gentlemen, I want to go ahead and point to this. There we go. So on hotkey number 2 we have the Roach Ling ball, and then on hotkey number 1 we have Mutilus. That's all we have, Mutilus. 9 Mutilus being made at this point in time. Roaches are at +1. Lings are at +1, and there's just a buttload of Mutas right now. And while Overlords are spreading creeps, these bases are now fully connected. Income tab, we have 66 to 56. So it has gone into a macro game. Meanwhile, we do have a macro hatchery going down for Zerg, who will go ahead and pick away at these rocks. Why not? And here come the Mutas, just to do nothing but harass non-stop. There's nothing that Protoss can really do at this point. You need your Blink Stalkers, but Blink has not even finished, not even halfway done. And now all these workers are just in so much jeopardy. And I just feel like ChakrA's falling apart this game. He's just having to be everywhere at the same time. He doesn't have that Blink, which is necessary to fend off these Mutas. And quite literally, I don't see why it's not worth it to throw up at least one cannon in your mineral line. It keeps Zerg from just harassing non-stop with Mutalists. You keep one cannon, you keep a handful of Stalkers there to provide additional DPS, and then Zerg has to think twice before he's just running in here with Mutas. It looks like he's going to pick off this robotics facility, so not even Doba Robo is going to work here. Will this Immortal finish in time? Oh no! Does not. The Immortal does get, I don't know if it gets cancelled. And now ChakrA's, I mean, he's freaking out here. He's having to spam non-stop cannons, and let's look how much damage these Mutalisks are doing. Meanwhile, decaf has taken a fourth. These Mutalisks are just never ending with their harass. +1 is being started for these Mutalisks, and why not? You have so many Mutalisks at this point. Units tab says 10 Zealots, 2 Immortals, 22 Stalkers, 11 Sentries, to 21 Mutas, 36 Roaches, and 32 Lings. The army, I mean, decaf is max. ChakrA was never really able to get his army in a good enough position to really max it out, and just having to be everywhere at once, your opponent loses their focus so fast, and that's what we see here from ChakrA. He's just lost his focus. He's had to split his forces. He's had to be everywhere at once. This is so hard for lower level players, and by lower level I mean like master, basically not grandmaster. Having to have your opponent that many places at once is even hard for grandmasters out there. So that's what the nice thing is about this build. You can go and harass with these Mutalisks. You can go ahead and reinforce with these Roaches and just pick away and do nothing but harass non-stop. Now, that might have been too much of a harass there for Zerg. He did lose quite a few of his Mutalisks, but at the same time he can just go in here and counterattack. And it doesn't really matter because now he's on 4 base. Units are just streaming in non-stop. We see a wave of Zerglings coming in. Protoss is not going to be able to save his base. This base will go down. Oh, the Protoss. Yep. So decaf has picked up the third. That's a good game, ladies and gentlemen. There is nothing that ChakrA can do at this point in time. I want to draw your guys' attention to the timer here. 17 minutes in. ChakrA gives a good game, well played. Now, when I did the Oxa ZVT cast, I noticed that a lot of the games were anywhere from 20 minutes to about 25 minutes. And that was the time it took for Oxa to get out those hive tech units and really start punishing Terrans. Decaf relies on just, droning up so hard in the beginning and hitting those perfect injets and just getting out so many drones and being safe at the same time, so that once he gets to that 60 drone mark, he can do nothing but spam units. And that means just pestering Protoss when they're trying to get their third base. That is when Protoss is their weakest. Whenever Protoss is trying to get their third base. So that is going to be game number 3 in the series of How to Play ZVP by our man decaf. I hope you guys have enjoyed the cast so far. I'm going to go ahead and cut to the next game here shortly. But first, be sure to rate, subscribe, comment, all that fun stuff, because I love it when you guys make comments on the video. And as well, check out the link posted below. It will have a link to decaf's thread on teamliquid.net, guide on how to play Zerg vs Protoss, Roach, Ling, Muta. That'll do it all for now, so I'll see you guys next time. Peace.